Another win for Team USA, another goal for Tage Thompson, but a bit of a scare with Tage. We'll talk about it coming up here on the Locked On Sabres podcast.
Your Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody, and welcome into this Friday night edition of the Locked On Sabres podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you listen to your podcast. You can watch our show on YouTube. Like and subscribe us there if you are watching along. If you want to get into our Locked On Sabres Everydayers Club, whether that is access to our Discord or whether that's ad-free versions of this show, head over to go to lockedonsabres.supercast.com, and that is the place to sign up. Today's episode of Locked On Sabres presented by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Sneaky Joe DiBiase, a lot to get to on today's show. The U.S. on to the gold medal game in the Olympics. That game getting wrapped up against Slovakia in the semis. There also was an earlier semifinal game between Canada and Finland that was electric, and that sets up the gold medal game that everybody wants to see and everybody is waiting for. Sunday morning, Team USA against Team Canada for the gold. Was hoping we'd get this game. We are getting this game. Sure, Finland winning would have been cool because it would have really increased the U.S.'s odds of winning a gold medal, which you could argue is number one on the priority list, and I would understand that. But nobody isn't going to be pumped up for this game. The theater that you're going to get for USA and Canada is awesome, and we'll talk about it coming up here in a little bit. And Tage Thompson's status for this game, because that is something that we are going to have to monitor for the next couple of days, as he had a bit of an injury scare in this game. And really, that is where we will start. Get to what he did in the game before he left, because he was building on the momentum, I believe, that you saw from him in the Sweden game, playing more minutes at 5-on-5, I think in large part to Jack Hughes being inserted onto that line with he and Dylan Larkin, and that line taking on a whole nother life with Hughes on it instead of Kyle Connor or Clayton Keller or Vinny Trocheck or JT Miller, a couple of the other guys that they had tried on that. So we'll get to that in a moment. But on the injury, so maybe you were not as plugged in the third period because by that point it was 5-0 US. Maybe you were playing around on your phone and it was on in the background, or, maybe you just weren't paying attention to it. But Team USA up big, doesn't have Tage on the bench to start the third period. And of course, every Sabre fan is going, well, I was moving locations from where I was watching the game in the first and the second period to where I was going to watch the game. So I'm driving, and I am almost to my destination as the third period is beginning, and I'm listening to WGR, Show Up in the Bulldog. And of course, it's the game I don't think was on anywhere that I know of radio-wise. Maybe that's not true, but whatever. I'm listening to Show Up in the Bulldog, and Bulldog says on the air, Zach just told me in my ear that Tage is not on the bench to start the third period. And I had the same reaction that everybody did, which was, please don't be hurt. Please don't be hurt. Please don't be hurt. Please don't be hurt. Having no idea if he stepped wrong, got in a weird collision, blocked a shot, which now it appears maybe that is what happened. Maybe Tage blocked a shot along the way. And it does end up being the case that there's an injury of some degree to Thompson, and that is why he did not come back out for the game. The game was also in hand, and I wonder if the game was a lot closer if you would have seen Thompson go out there. That does seem to be the indication as we sit here on Friday night with, about 36 hours to go until the game at time of recording against Canada. It was labeled a precaution. It was precautionary reasons why Thompson didn't play the third. That's what USA Hockey said. And then Mike Sullivan said in his press conference after the game that Tage has a lower body injury, but he does anticipate him being ready for the gold medal game. So that is some encouraging news on Thompson, that it's not something that's going to keep him out of that game. He wants to play in that game. I have to imagine he would play through a lot to play in that game. I know the Sabre season exists here, but you're a kid growing up playing hockey your whole life, and you put all that work in. You go to the World Championships, you perform there, you become the player you've become to make this team. You make this team. You're having a good tournament. You're getting ready for USA and Canada. I mean, it is possible, no disrespect to the Sabres and the priorities here from our perspective, but it's possible, I hope wrong because this would be bad news for the future, but it's possible that Sunday, USA and Canada is the most important game of Tage Thompson's hockey life. That is real. That is, unless he plays in the Stanley Cup final, it's maybe going to be the number one game for him. So I'm not going to go as far as to say, well, just because he's good to go for Canada on Sunday doesn't mean he doesn't have something that he would be dealing with when he returns to the Buffalo Sabres. I do think this is something to monitor, and that this is something to be a little bit worried about for Thompson. Because again, I don't think his availability for Sunday has to correlate fully with what he could be dealing with when he comes back to the Sabres. Maybe it's something he'd be playing through with the Sabres. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it was something very minor, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. And also what he looks like on the ice Sunday against Canada. If it looks like he's really laboring, then we'll know it's something, right? If we don't notice anything, then that's probably a good sign. So keep an eye on him throughout the next couple of days. What happened before he got injured was more good stuff from Thompson on the power play. He has been, I think, a key contributor on that power play throughout the entire tournament. That number one power play unit for the U.S. has really worked. They have never had a reason to really change much of it. Quinn Hughes at the top, Austin Matthews on the right, Jack Eichel on the left, and then Tage free-flowing, down low, below the goal line, high bumper slot, front of the net, switching with Eichel, and it's a very fluid power play. And I think a lot of that is because Thompson and Eichel are doing a really good job of reading off each other, what spots to be in, filling up open space on that left side. And that is where everything is driven through. You watch their power play, and the machine of their power play is run through the low left to the top left, or to the top. It goes from the Thompson at the bottom end, Eichel in the middle, Quinn Hughes at the top. That line of players is what that power play runs through. The Matthews side of it doesn't really see a ton of the movement, a ton of the puck movement, especially. And Tkachuk is out there mostly to be in front of the net and do the dirty work and retrieve pucks. But I feel like their plan of attack coming out every time is Thompson, Eichel, Hughes, find the right passes, find the right shots. You three are really the thing that makes this thing go. And again, because they're both often playing on the same side, Eichel and Thompson have to really read off each other well. So on this goal that Thompson scores for his third of the Olympics, and I believe all three have been on the power play, by the way, his third goal of the Olympics, he is at the low end part of the ice, goal line, and Eichel is where he normally is, half wall on the left, Hughes is at the top. And here comes a little bit of the motion. Eichel starts to rotate up to the top of the point, not staying stationary. Very different than what you see from the Sabres power play. I think Thompson maybe could learn something from how Eichel plays that position as a playmaker. Eichel has not scored, I don't believe, from that spot in these Olympics, but he has been very important to how the puck moves. So he's carrying it, and he flows from the faceoff circle back towards the top where Hughes originally was. Hughes moves with him to the right side, closer to where Matthews is, to open that space up. And Thompson, instead of sitting down on the goal line, he, of course, floats up to the bottom of the faceoff circle. And that little bit of motion that moves him up opens up a shooting lane for Eichel to pass it to him into. And it's still a tough shot. He's not very high in terms of his angle, so he's got to score this goal short side. But he gets so much on it, so much torque. Man, watching how down on one knee he is, the bottom of his left skate is touching the ice. It's a crazy good goal by Thompson, and he doesn't score it cleanly into the open net, but he shoots it so hard that the goaltender, even getting over there and getting a piece of it, he has no ability to get enough of it to stop it from going in. It kind of goes through his shoulder and into the net because Thompson hit it so hard. So a great shot from Thompson. I've liked him a lot in that spot. It's not really a spot, that low part of the power play that, I mean, the Sabres, it's not something Thompson plays for the Sabres because the Sabres don't really have that position. They don't play a guy there. They play a guy right in front of the net, top of the slot, both half walls, top of the point. They don't have a guy that plays on the goal line like Thompson has been playing. And maybe the coaching staff will watch that and will, think about doing something of the sort going forward. So Thompson's third goal of the Olympics, he did add a secondary assist on the first goal by Dylan Larkin. That line at 5-on-5 has looked amazing since Jack Hughes was put onto it. And if Thompson plays in the third period, he was on his way to playing a high in ice time. He has played, 13 minutes and 34 seconds he did against Sweden, which was about 4 minutes up from where he had been previously. He averaged about 9 minutes per night in the preliminary games. This game, he ends up playing 10:05 in just 2 periods of action. So if he had played 5 minutes like he did in the first 2 periods, he would have been over 15 minutes, which would have been a high of the tournament. His line mates played that much. Dylan Larkin played 15:21, and Jack Hughes played a total of, Jack Hughes 11:07. That's actually a lot lower than I thought for Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes has been amazing. Credit to him. He was not good at the Four Nations last year. He dealt with injuries this year, right? That freak thing with his hand, but he's looked unbelievable. 2 goals in this tournament for him. One as the power play was dying off and ended up being in 5-on-5, but he in the move he makes on his first goal, that cut from right to left, broke the ankles of a defender, gets to an open spot, rips it past the goaltender. Jack Hughes has been awesome. Jack Eichel has been amazing. These have been some of the best players. Like, to me, Team USA's best players so far in this tournament have been Quinn Hughes, Jack Eichel, Jack Hughes, and Thompson's not that far down the list. Goals per 60 minutes of ice time. And this is a little bit of a fluky stat, because he gets a lot of power play minutes compared to other guys, a higher percentage of his minutes are power play, but just a fun stat to look at. It doesn't, not every stat has to be meaningful, right? Like totally meaningful. Some of them can just be fun to look at. And this one's really fun to look at. Goals per 60 minutes of ice time at the Olympics for Team USA. Who's number 1 on the team? Tage. 3.35 goals per 60 minutes of ice time. That's third best of anybody at the tournament. Finland had 1 guy and Denmark had 1 guy that were a little bit higher. Thompson third at the tournament in goals per 60 minutes, above Hughes, Brady Tkachuk, Austin Matthews, Brock Nelson. That's the top 5 for Team USA. 3.35 goals per 60 for Tage. Love it. And he should be good to go for the gold medal game. Team USA wins. Easy win against Slovakia. They were always going to win that game unless something crazy happened, and nothing crazy enough did happen. When we come back, what we saw from Canada and a little bit of a look ahead to the gold medal game before we get to what happened at Sabres practice, coming up on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Today's episode of the Locked On Sabres podcast is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? Well, FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with the NBA sweepstakes. So here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you will automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right. Flights, tickets, whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about what team can make a deep run, perfect time to lock it in. Maybe you're looking at the Olympics for Sunday's game, USA and Canada. Who you like more in that one? Maybe you like a Tage Thompson anytime goal bet for this game on Sunday. Power play time, goals per 60. There'd be a lot of reasons to do that. Right now, not only can you pick cash, but it also could send you to the NBA Finals. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future. Get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Sneaky Joe DiBiase back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Team USA took care of business over Slovakia pretty easily. The final score ends up being 6-2, but USA kind of on cruise control in that third period, other than the Kachucks, who, of course, Brady Tkachuk scored on a breakaway in the third period, and Matthew Tkachuk got into a gloves-on fight with Eric Cernak of the Slovakian team and also of the Tampa Bay Lightning. So you had a Panthers-Lightning little brawl there. That rivalry extends into the Olympics, apparently, and both guys got misconducts. There's no reason to think Matthew Tkachuk will face any sort of discipline for the gold medal game. So he's good to go for Sunday. 8 a.m. Remember, 8 a.m. for this game on Sunday. Team Canada, meanwhile, they had to scratch and claw for their win in this game, which I was having a tough time figuring out what I wanted out of it. I went into it thinking I want Canada, only because I want the USA-Canada game. It's why we do this. We want the best versus the best. It's not the Bills or the Sabres, right? Like, if it's one of those two, I want the easier matchup. I don't care about beating the best to win it all. And I would have been mad at all if Team USA had played Finland in the gold medal game and had the expectation that they would win that game. They wouldn't have had to. Finland would have had beaten Canada in that scenario. But I want to see USA and Canada. I think a lot of people want to see USA and Canada. So that's what I was thinking going into the game. But sure enough, I'm human. I want the underdog. And, there is a little bit of that. I don't really care who beats them. Just get Canada out of the tournament. That crept in as soon as the game began. And as soon as you got Mikko Rantanen scoring right off a faceoff. And then when Erik Haula scores on a breakaway and it's 2-0 Finland in the second period, I'm all in on the Finns and rooting for them as the game unfolds. But Canada claws their way back. They did score twice on the power play. It is funny, like, in terms of 5-on-5 goals in this game between both teams, you only had one. Mikko Rantanen on the power play, Haula shorthanded, Sam Reinhart power play, Nathan McKinnon on the game winner was on the power play as well. The only 5-on-5 goal was by Shea Theodore in the third period, the goal that tied the game with about 10 minutes to go. Finland, you want to call them sore losers or whatnot. Maybe you would have the right to if you're a Canadian fan. But Joel Armia, longtime NHLer, former Buffalo Sabres draft pick of Darcy Regier, he had a comment after the game about why he thought Finland deserved to win and said, yeah, well, we held Canada, this great superpower, to one 5-on-5 goal, and it shouldn't have counted because of goaltender interference. I actually thought Finland had a case, and maybe they should have challenged it. Brad Marchand is in the crease, and he does fall over UC Saros. Now, he is bumped in there by Rasmus Ristolainen, but that tournament is much tighter on goalie interference than in the NHL. The threshold for goalie interference is a lot lower to clear in this international rules than it is in the NHL. So, yes, I do think Ristolainen bumped Marchand in, but it wasn't all on Ristolainen as to why Marchand was in the crease. And to me, a goal of that importance, I get that the consequence is you go to shorthanded and you could lose that. But to me, you take that risk. There's 10 minutes to go, and you give it a shot, and you see if they overturn it. And I think they might have. Now, the ref is standing right there behind the net, and that also could have contributed as to why they didn't think it would get overturned, but I would have gave it a shot. No doubt Canada deserved to win the game. They're the better team. 39 shots on goal to 17 shots on goal. Finland did what Finland does. Like they try to race out to a lead, and they do the thing that a lot of hockey teams do, which is park the bus and hope that you can survive. And, in this circumstance, when you are severely disadvantaged on talent compared to your opponent, I guess I get it more than when it happens in the NHL, and it drives me crazy. So that's kind of how that game ends up unfolding. No Sidney Crosby in the game, and Macklin Celebrini. So I mentioned how Thompson is third in goals per 60 minutes at this tournament. Fourth is Macklin Celebrini, who again looked incredible in this one. Top line with Connor McDavid and Tom Wilson. And then as soon as Canada starts getting into trouble late and they're down in the game and they're trying to tie the hockey game, and you get that hero line out there. If you remember the old NHL video game, you were always able to put together a hero line for critical situations when you got to come back and you got to tie it. What are the guys you want out on the ice? And Edmonton for years has done McDavid and Draisaitl together. Pittsburgh together for years has done Malkin and Crosby on the same line. Chicago used to do this. Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane didn't used to play together on the same line, except at the end of games. The Sabres used to do it with Drury and Briere. Briere would go to the wing. Team Canada, what have they done in back-to-back games, and especially in this game, when it's getting down to it, and they need to win it, and they need the best out there? Who's out there? Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, makes sense, best two players in the world. Macklin Celebrini. This is a coming out party for Macklin Celebrini to be one of the best players in the world. Great story in San Jose, was getting some attention, getting some MVP attention even from the hockey world this year. But I think he's really taking off for the casual hockey fan in this tournament. He played 25 minutes and 53 seconds of ice time for Canada in this game. That was the most of any player in the game for them, including the defensemen. More than McDavid, more than Makar, more than McKinnon, more than all of them. Celebrini played the most and had 8 shots on goal, which led the game. He only ended up with the 1 assist. But John Cooper, actually talking about him after the game, called him a generational player, and that he was surprised he didn't even play him more. 10 points now, by the way, for him in this tournament, which is 1 off of what the record was at the Olympics before this tournament. McDavid is up to 12, which is an Olympic record. But here's what I just want to say quickly about Celebrini, because not a player that we watch all the time, especially like a guy like me. Like, I'm waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning at the max, like sometimes earlier, for my morning show on WGR. So the San Jose Sharks, like, I rarely get to see them until the playoffs begin, and they haven't been in the playoffs lately. And my perspective on Macklin Celebrini is a lot of, well, what was he coming into the league? He was a good number 1 overall pick level player, but he was not thought of as this McDavid level guy, this Crosby level guy, McKinnon level guy, Matthews, Eichel. Like, he wasn't on that level. He was, I thought of as just maybe 1 step below, not a bunch of steps below. He wasn't, Nico Hischier or even like Owen Power. No disrespect to Owen Power. It was above that. He's on that top tier. He really does remind me of Crosby. Honestly, like, that's going to be a big comparison to put on him for pressure if people start doing that. But he reminds me of Crosby. How hard he fights on the walls and defensively, and he's got this will in his game that is a little bit higher than some of the skilled guys in the league. And he also is unbelievable offensively. He moves. Who does he move like? He kind of moves like Marner to me. He moves like Marner, but he fights for battles like he's Crosby. And he's got the skill of all these guys. Like, 19 years old, I think good thing he's in the Western Conference, because I think he's going to be one of the best players in the world for a long time. Like, I'm talking on par with McDavid and McKinnon. Like in that conversation, I mean, in 3-4 years, maybe less than that, I think that's going to be him. I couldn't be more impressed with Celebrini in this tournament. There is a question of Crosby playing on Sunday as well. So we think Tage is going to play. That was the message from Mike Sullivan. Crosby did not play in the semis. I feel like he's not going to play, but I feel like it's also a coin flip, so it's tough to really predict. Okay, when we wrap things up here, a couple of updates from the Sabres at practice as well to get to coming up on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Sneaky Joe DiBiase back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. The Sabres are getting close to their next game, New Jersey, next Wednesday. The likes of Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier and Timo Meier, all guys that were at these Olympics. So for the Sabres, so still no Tage. He's obviously still out there. No Dahlin yet, working his way back to Buffalo. We had some updates from practice on Friday, and roughly the same as what we've had the last couple of days, but one thing that was a little bit of a good sign. Josh Norris out of a no contact jersey. So good news for him. I feel like that officially means he's back. He is going to be back for this game on Wednesday, playing down the middle. Josh Dunne also out of a non-contact uniform. You know, like he's just a fourth liner. Not somebody that moves the meter a whole lot, I think, for fans and for me too. But I was not loving how the rookies were playing towards the end before they went to a break. Not all of them. Noah Ostlund's been great all the way through. Isak Rozan and Konsta Helenius wasn't into how they were playing down the stretch. And I think that getting a couple of guys back is best to get them back down to Rochester and move Josh Dunne back into a fourth line role and start shuffling some things around a little bit. So I think Dunne coming back is good. It gets one more player out of the lineup that probably shouldn't be in there at the moment. And also, I think they're going to need him for the role he plays with Jordan Greenway likely being out for a long time. I don't know how long Jordan Greenway is going to be out. I really want to know if that injury is bad enough that they could put him on long-term injured reserve. So we figured that out over the last couple of weeks, that the NHL did change the rules this year that you can't stash a guy in LTIR, activate them for the playoffs, and then go over the cap. If you want to put a guy on LTIR and save the salary cap space, he's done. He's got to be done for the whole year, including the playoffs. And if the Sabres don't believe Jordan Greenway is likely to come back, get him on LTIR and get that $4 million off your salary cap so that you can use it coming up at the deadline. The Sabres are a team that is kind of close to the salary cap, and getting $4 million for Jordan Greenway being on LTIR to me would be a pretty solid boost to have to make a trade. The one other injury thing that was not so good, Zach Benson's still not on the ice, and that really stings. Their record this year with and without Zach Benson, I mean, they are so much better this year when he is out there. Sabres this year are 28-10-4 with Benson in the lineup. They are 4-9-2 when he is not in the lineup. Tough. So hopefully he's ready to go for Wednesday, but we don't have any positive updates just yet. Okay, that is going to do it for us today here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Gold medal game, USA and Canada. Can't wait to talk about it this weekend here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. So we'll talk to you next time. Discord, you want in? You want ad-free versions of the show too? Go to lockedonsabres.supercast.com. That's the place to sign up. Talk to you then. Here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now your number one sports podcast network.